am Rachel Humphrey with DEI Advisors. We are a nonprofit organization out of Arizona empowering personal success in the hospitality industry. And I am excited to welcome to the show today Julie Arrowsmith, the president and CEO of G6 Hospitality. Julie, welcome to DEI Advisors.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm excited to be here today.
Julie, you and I, as we have been earlier today and for a long time, could talk for hours. So I'm going to jump right in so we can hit as many of the things today as I would love to. But I want to start off with one of my favorite things about the hospitality industry, which is that there is no one path to leadership. You can really have any career that you want, any path that you want, straight on, zigzagged, whatever it may be, and still end up in a leadership role. Tell us a little bit about you, your path to leadership, and if there were any really pivotal moments for you in that journey.
Sure. There definitely are a lot of entry points into this business. I think that's one of the things that makes it fantastic. Mine was more of a finance path. I graduated from Texas A&M with my accounting degree and went to work in an audit group within Deloitte and straight out of college. And my largest client was Motel 6. And I think that, from a leadership perspective, it was one of those things where the more I worked within the business and the more responsibility I took along the way, I wanted to jump into industry. I wanted to take that leap and get out of just, public accounting where you were going kind of from account to account and really be a part of a business and its growth story. And so I thought I'd try Motel 6 and give it a few years and see where it led me. And I've been here now for 29 years in January. And it was just a gradual taking on more responsibility, being, more interested in doing more things. And so that led me to the CFO role in 2012 when Blackstone bought the company. And then last year, the CEO role.
Well, that's incredible. And it leads me actually to two questions specific to your journey, because as you've been at G6 now for almost 30 years. And when you think about our industry, there is a lot of movement about companies, about different career paths. But I imagine that you are very intentional about continuing your growth and staying fresh and making sure that you are keeping up with things. How do you do that? How do you make sure that you are continuing to grow despite having maybe the same employer and being surrounded by a lot of the same people throughout the majority of your career?
Right. I mean, I think there's two critical aspects when it comes to professional development, and you can get that working in one company or different companies. In my case, it was, I was lucky to have it all within one organization. I think the first thing that's really critical is that you get exposure to a lot of different things, different projects, different initiatives, transactions, anything that will expand your skills so that you don't get pigeonholed into one area. Throughout my time here, I worked on, and then I later led software implementations, and it taught me project management. And I really learned the intricacies of how different functions interrelate. I worked on acquisitions and dispositions that we made. I worked on refinancing. I worked on brand initiatives, and I took on more than just financial responsibilities. I started, getting more involved in the commercial aspects of the business. And, all of these things took work, but the reward was that I just was so much more well-rounded, and I was just really adding tools into my toolbox. But the second thing that you have to have, I think, is you have to be around people that are going to support and advocate for your success. They're going to have to be, whether it's your direct supervisor or even another manager, because honestly, I've had managers over my time here that weren't, always, my favorite or the greatest, but they still taught me something. And I always had other leaders around me that certainly gave me a lot of guidance and support. And so you can have a job description that gives you a lot, but if you don't have the people that are pulling you into the meetings, giving you access at the table so that you can be heard and seen and listen to how decisions are made and listen to how, the problem solving process can work, then you don't grow in, kind of that emotional IQ side of things. You might have a lot of understanding of different aspects of the job, but you don't understand the people side as well. So I think you've got to have those two critical aspects for development and to really grow.
I love the idea of broadening your knowledge too, maybe outside of your direct lane, because I think you're right. As you continued your growth journey and certainly to become president and CEO, to have really an understanding of the company as a whole, not just the finance role, has really been critical for that. So I appreciate your sharing that. And then certainly to have people supporting you. I always like to share with our audience, and now people have come to expect, one of the reasons why I've asked you to join us as a guest advisor today. And then it's going to lead into something I want to ask you about public speaking. You and I have spoken a lot, and I know that you do not necessarily want to be known as a female leader. You want to be known as a leader, but you understand and respect and appreciate that there is a responsibility that comes with your title and being female. And I think you and I have shared a lot of our experiences in that way. And so first I want to just say thank you. Thank you for modeling that for so many of us, but I want to turn it specifically to public speaking. Part one is going to be about just in general. Do you like it? How do you prepare? Are you comfortable? Have you always been comfortable? But part two, I'd like you to talk about is with the added pressure now, or I imagine there's added pressure now of more eyes, different venues that you're in, different audiences with your role as being the first global brand CEO in the US, being female. Do you have to overcome any added pressure or new strategies that you've implemented in the last year since you've gotten the new role?
Yeah, I think taking the first part, the public speaking has definitely ramped up this past year. It's something I had to get significantly more comfortable with because it was just in a much different venue. Like I could get in front of our team, here at the office or, in kind of smaller group settings or what have you, totally comfortable talking. It's usually relaxed and there's a lot of Q&A. I like being able to, give information as far as, what's going on but also hear their questions and have a dialogue. I like any kind of environment where you can have a dialogue because I just think it's energizing on both sides. Getting in front of big groups, really like thousands, that's like, woo, that's next level. And, but I think some of the same thing is just thinking about, what does that audience really want to take away? What do I want them to know about our business or about me or, the direction we're going? And I think that regardless of the forum, it's really important to just really be thinking about it from the audience's perspective of what is it that they need most from you and how can I meet that need? Certainly as a woman, I'm often the female on the panel amongst a bunch of guys. First panel I was on, I can remember, I got back in the green room, the prep space, and the guys are kind of over here talking and I'm kind of the person, the new one, and I just kind of had to walk in and, hey, I'm Julie, and just get to know them and try to insert myself a little bit. They were very kind. I think for the most part, I've never really hit any kind of situation where I think that I was looked down upon or, that I wasn't welcome at the table. But I do feel a big responsibility, honestly. And I think I've probably accepted a few more speaking engagements because I do want to make sure I'm representing female leaders out there appropriately. It's kind of one of those with this, there's a responsibility that comes with this role in more ways than just leading G6 hospitality. So I want to try to, do my best. On that front, I still get tripped up a little bit when, it's the CEO thing. And I'm like, I'm just Julie. Hey, I'm Julie. Nice to meet you. It's probably the last thing I'll say about myself a lot of times is more of just, I'm Julie. I work at G6 kind of thing. Just because I really just want to connect with people more than anything else. But it's, I think public speaking comes hand in hand with leadership, because you've got to be able to talk to folks, and you have to be able to talk to them in a lot of different ways. You're selling your company. You're, really trying to put them in the best light. If I'm in a board meeting, that's a situation where I'm trying to get some very critical points across. I'm trying to be concise. It's just, again, but it's storytelling in a different venue. You really have to know your audience.
Well, I think the comment you made about I'm just Julie, not necessarily CEO, is also interesting, because you're probably not much different than you were when you were Julie CFO or Julie president before you were president and CEO. And so with this evolution over the last year, to you, you're probably the same person, just with a lot more opportunities now with the new title. So that's incredible. What about self-doubt? One of the things we hear a lot is that it is very easy to let our own minds have a much more negative vantage point than maybe our support systems do, or those who we our managers even. Do you ever experience that? And if so, how do you overcome some of that?
Yes, absolutely. It walks with me on a more regular basis than I would like. I think it's really important to kind of have that self-talk in your head that keeps the positive going. The support system you reference is real, and I have to go and talk to, whether it's some colleagues at work that I've just entrust with my more innermost thinkings, or my husband. It's sometimes I need a cheerleader, someone I need someone who can just really provide me with some other insight, because the self-doubt is usually because I'm worried that I'm going to come across a certain way, or I'm going to not hit on the right points. So if I can talk it out with someone, they can let me know, hey, just make sure you hit on these other two things as well. I mean, I think those are, some preparations that are important. But then, at the end of the day, my go-to is perspective, and it's just, all I can do is my best. I know that sounds really trite and might sound a little naive, but it's something that I go with. I can only do what I can do, and I'm going to do it to the very best of my ability. And I'm going to do it with the right, care and compassion that goes hand in hand with that. And, we'll see where it leads us. But, I have to kind of lean on, I've got a lot to offer. And if I do it with the right mindset and, I'm prepared, I can get the right, get the right things done in the right moments.
I really like the combination too of perspective and your own narrative combined with seeking out those who and practice. You're right. Sometimes as you talk things out, it becomes much easier to see the reality of things, as opposed to maybe some of the negative perceptions that you've developed. You mentioned care and compassion. And one of the things I hear about you all the time is Julie is a very empathetic leader. How important is that to you in your style of leadership? And what does that mean to you specifically?
Yeah, I think that, at the end of the day, we're all just trying to do our jobs to the best of our ability, no matter kind of where you fall within, the machine. But I think it's really critical to treat people with that care and compassion, get to know them. They're not just a part of the machine, but they've got a life outside of that machine. And the more you get to know folks on a personal level, and they get to know me, you build the relationships that are necessary to get you through the hard times. It's like the bank account. You put money in, you put time and effort and care in, so that you can make those withdrawals when you need to. You can have those hard conversations. You can have those tense meetings. You can, have the really hard conversations, but people know that it's coming from a place of care and trust, because they've already gotten to know you. You have to do that work, and hopefully it's not work. It's something that comes, more naturally, but you have to do that and put that time in, because in the moment when you need to withdraw, when you need those hard situations to be dealt with, that's too late. You can't be building that leadership style in the moment. It's something that has to be organic way before, to show that you really do trust and that you care for the team around you. And that way they give you that same care when the going gets tough, because the hard times come for sure.
Well, and such an important lesson to build the foundation
Mhm.
early so that when you do have to rely on it, it's already developed for you. Speaking of leadership styles, they certainly evolve over time. Is there a lesson you've learned? I would ask you about the last year, but the last year happens to coincide with your new role as well. But is there a lesson you think you've learned in the last year that has been a big takeaway for you from a leadership style and how that will maybe help shape your leadership moving forward?
Yeah, I think I've learned that I can like build and work outside my comfort zone. When I stepped into the CEO role, it was that it was a huge leap for me. Even though I was in the C-suite for a number of years, over 10 years, I was not really I hadn't had that CEO role necessarily on my radar. And so I was really questioning whether that was something that I, wanted to do, honestly. And it was way outside my comfort zone. I took a deep breath and kind of gave myself that pep talk I was just telling you about. And I kind of jumped in. And again, that perspective that I've learned over this past year is that, we do hard things well. That's kind of one of our things going into 2024 is that sometimes you think that oh, that was a tough year, or that was a tough project, and okay, it's going to get easier now. And it doesn't. There's always, you're growing from those hard times so that you're prepared for the next hard thing you do. And I've really learned that I can do that next thing. I can do that hard thing. At the end of the day, it's nice to see and realize that when the next hard thing comes and I have that doubt, I can look back on this and go, oh, it will work out. It will be for the benefit of everyone, and I can do it.
Well, what a great tie-in too to our conversation a minute ago about self-doubt, because
Yeah.
here's one where you're like, can I, do I want to
Yeah.
take a big risk, do it, and then actually have that be something that builds confidence and builds leadership for you. In the new role, I imagine that you are traveling much more than you were in your CFO role. And one of the questions I get asked a lot, both about me, but also in terms of our guest advisors, is how do we manage business travel? For a lot of rising leaders who are just starting to maybe go on a conference circuit or go to speak places or maybe attend more business meetings, finding that, I don't know if I know a lot of people refer to them as kind of the travel hacks, if you will. Do you have any tried and true strategies that you use in managing time away?
Um, I'm still probably building some of those hacks. I think that I do always take a few like comforts. I've got my iPad that has just personal books on it, just something that I always use to relax in the evening. Kind of keeps my brain from going off into all the directions that, I could possibly worry about, and focuses me in on, something more relaxing. I always take my workout gear. I will always check out the gym at whatever hotel I'm at, or go for a walk or something like that. I just need that fresh air or that time to get my heart rate up, that just, again, kind of releases some of the tension. Um, and, just try to take in, where you're at. Like if I'm in New York, I will still, especially around the holidays, I will still always, after dinner, I will go for a walk and go look at the lights. Just kind of try, if you can, to take in, take a breath, take a moment to smell the roses if you get a chance. But try to be in the moment as best you can, but take a few comforts from home, and um, you know, relax as best you can in the moments you have.
Well, that is a perfect segue to talking about home then, because I'm hoping I'm going to get this right. But I know, Julie, you are married to your high school sweetheart. You have 3 children and are empty nesting like I am. We're going to talk about Texas A&M because you mentioned it a second ago, and also a demanding career. So, I'm sure there is no secret ingredient that says I can handle all of these things at 100% perfection at all times, nor should we strive for that. But what are some of the things that you've learned about how best to manage all of those different roles? And then tell me one thing that you love to do when you're not right in the middle of a big career moment.
Yeah, I like work-life harmony. Work-life management's good too. The balance thing, it implies that you've got equal time,
Yeah.
that there's a balance achieved, and it just doesn't happen that way. It really just depends on what season of life you're in. And I think sometimes we tend to think that whatever moment we're in is going to last forever, and you think, oh, I can't do this. Well, you're not going to have to do it forever. It's usually just a project, or a period of time, that's hard. And I know when my kids were little, it was really helpful to have someone that could help with after school care. So we did that, and kind of played that out to see if it worked, and it worked beautifully, because she became kind of one of the family, that could kind of help with after school homework and so forth. I've had the joy of having some family nearby as well. So our kids have really enjoyed being closer to their grandmother and great grandmother, in times when I might have to travel, or my husband, had work commitments as well. So I think sometimes as parents, we think, well, if I'm not the one doing it, then our kids are suffering. Well, no, not necessarily. They just need to know that you're there for them when it counts. And I was able to be at games, and, doesn't mean I didn't miss a few, but I was there when it counted. And I think that's part. And if I was working on a project, they understood that it was a busy time for mom, and, that was okay too. So it's when it goes on and on that you have to, take a minute to step back and reassess if you need to find something that does harmonize better with the season of life that you're in. But I think that, again, that perspective of knowing that my family is most important, take time with friends, do things with your kids, enjoy watching that football game. And then you come back fresher for it, and you have that energy to push through some long nights or weekends, or, that big project that's going to take your time. And then, you've reached the harmony that you've wanted, and you kind of look back and go, okay, how did the past couple of years go? It's not the one season or the one project you were working on. It's more over time, how's your family doing? How are you doing? That sort of thing. Because when I do have time on my own, I'm an extrovert, so it's usually time with friends. I really enjoy dinner, with friends, a weekend away with friends. We do like in the fall going down to football games, and watching my Aggies play. I like spring baseball too. So we'll be going down for parent weekend here in a couple of weeks, and spending some time with my daughters, and watching the Aggie baseball too. So it's a balance. It's a harmony.
It is a harmony. I like what you said too, though, about that you do come back more refreshed. If you're too focused in the one area, then it is certainly easy to burn out. And I really liked what you said about you don't have to be present at all moments to feel like you are being successful as a mom. I think that's something we all can be reminded of, that obviously the care and the love are there, but it's
having adult kids now, and being able to ask them, like, what did it feel like? Or, and I do, it is comforting to know that they look back and don't think mom was never there. They think that, mom was there. You remember that, the games you went, or the dance, convention I went to with my, other daughter, or robotics with my son. And, but they also know, mom was, not able to talk to them because she was on a work call, or she was in meetings. And it's funny, people are like, oh, do your kids want to follow in your footsteps? No, I think COVID ruined that, because they saw me in so many meetings and on the phone. They're like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that.
That's so funny.
So I'm like, no, it's really great, but oh well.
Sometimes it does look and feel like our entire careers are in meetings. When you and I were visiting last year, shortly before the G6 conference, I asked you if you had a personal brand or a personal mantra. And while you may not word it that way. You said you try to live by the phrase of be kind to everyone always. And I've really remembered that because it's such an important, yet in some ways it sounds so simple way to have a guiding star. How did that come about for you, and how do you implement that? I know we talked about empathetic leadership earlier, but how does it really shape you in your decision making in your career?
It really started actually from my husband when we were raising our kids, and we were talking to the kids when they were having friend issues, or they were, teaching them to share, and all the kind of things you do when they're little. And it was, be kind to everyone always. That's what you want to be known for. That you don't know what other kids are dealing with. We would try to, when that kid was mean, well, maybe he had a rough day, maybe he didn't do good on his homework, whatever. And it just became something more of a family mantra for us, and it's been a personal mantra for me. And I think that I just don't ever want to lose touch with who I am as a person and what my values are, no matter what position I hold or what I'm doing. I think we're all confronted with some hard decisions and hard things we have to deal with in life. And, we need people around us to support. I want to be someone who can be a support to someone else. I think my love language is acts of service. I mean, it just really, I'm that person that if, someone is struggling trying to hold their bags or what, I'm going to be like, oh, let me help you. What can I do? It's just, it's something that's kind of innate in me, but it is something that I think that, especially in this day and age, how polarized our society is on topics. I'm continually amazed at how people can draw such strong conclusions about something without really considering the bigger context or what people are going through. It boggles my mind every day, no matter what the topic. And so I think that if we could just have a little bit of, empathy and, just remember that everyone's trying to, I'm an optimist. Give the benefit of the doubt, and just, people are trying to do the best they can. So, give them some support, give them some grace.
I love that. And I am an acts of service as well. So perhaps we can
Maybe that's why we connect so well.
We have more and more in common. Well, we are going to run short on time. As I mentioned at the top, I knew that we could chat forever. But one of the questions that I have always loved being asked when I speak publicly, and also love asking in return, is about our advice to our younger selves. I think that personal growth is really important, and part of that is reflection. So I'm curious, what do you today tell 21-year-old Julie about either how things play out for you, or something maybe you wish you knew then that you know today that might have altered the course of things for you?
Yeah, I think one thing would be don't worry so much. And it's not a button you can flip on and off, but I am kind of that planner, worrier. I get it from my mom. And I think that things do work out for the best, where a door closes, a window opens. And I truly, truly believe that. And the more, hard things you go through and the things you worry about, and you come through on the other side in a good way, you can look back on that repeatedly and go, you know what? I've had enough experience now. I know things are going to work out. Much, especially when we're young, that someone's going to perceive questions as being weak. But I think you can learn how to frame questions in a way that show that you do know what you're doing. You just need more. I really appreciate the information you passed on, particularly about fill in the blank. I just have a few clarifying questions, or I really want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly. This is what I heard you say. Am I on the right track? You said this, which made me think about this question. Am I thinking about, how should I be thinking about this? There's ways to do it that really invite that extra bit of information that shows how you're grasping whatever the topic, but then also shows, gives someone else the opportunity to teach. And when you get someone else in a teaching mode, because people like that, it's a comfortable place for them when they're able to teach. I think that, that just really empowers you to learn and build. So, just, gosh, don't Don't be afraid to ask questions, even if you're the youngest person at that table. Because when I came on board at Motel 6, I was in charge of a department. I was the youngest person in the department. And, that can sometimes be, a little, you're either a little, kind of nervous, which I think is a good thing, or you're really arrogant and you think you know it all, which I think is bad. So I'd rather have that self-doubt, because I think it keeps you humble and puts you in that learning frame of mind, that growth mindset, versus, oh, I got this kind of attitude. So, ask questions. There's always more to learn, always.
Well, what a great way also to hone communication skills, but to develop your personal brand, where then your managers or others that you're working with see you as someone who is curious, who does want to learn, who wants to make sure that they're doing it well. And I also believe that things work out as they should at the end of the day. I'm a big believer in sliding doors. And so, keeping optimistic, keeping positive, but that worrying less I wish that I could go back and invest that time I spent worrying, doing a lot of other different things now.
Right.
Well, as we wrap up, keeping in mind the motto of DEI advisors to empower personal success, is there one final nugget of wisdom you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, just you have to do what's right for you, but don't let fear of the unknown keep you from trying something new. You always have options down the road to take a different turn, but you have to get on that road first. So, just don't let that fear of the unknown keep you from getting on the road to something new and great.
Well, and with great risk comes either great reward or a great learning opportunity for growth. So nothing to lose there. Well, Julie, thank you so much. As always, I appreciate our friendship and the relationship that we have developed and how much I have learned from you. I appreciate all you are doing to elevate women in the hospitality industry right now, but also just be seen as an available and present leader. And I really appreciate your sharing your thoughts with DEI advisors audiences today.
Awesome. Thank you, Rachel. I really appreciate it.
And for our audience, if you don't know enough about Julie, you can head on over to our website and read a little bit more about her, or head on over to her LinkedIn. If you enjoyed our interview today, we hope you will go to DEIadvisors.org to look at the interviews of the over 150 hospitality industry leaders who have shared their journeys to leadership and the lessons they've learned along the way. You can also stream us, words I never thought I would say, from your favorite podcast streaming services. So thank you all for joining us today. And thank you again, Julie.